Hello everyone, welcome to our meetup for QA engineers. My name is Anastasia. I'm QA engineers and I will host today. And I'm so glad to see you today. This event is made by Serbian QA Hub, and we want to talk. We want to say thank you for our very great partners, and our wonderful partner, SDT Hub, is. I'm sorry, it's my first time on English. I want to say thank you for our partner, SDT Hub, is hosting our today. Thank you so much, and thank you to support for April. So we are starting our sixth meetup for engineers and who love testing. And please hands up if you are here today first time. Thank you. Especially for you, I want to talk about our community. Serbian QA Hub is a non-profit community for testers and players where everyone share experience and we like to help people develop and knowledge. Let me tell you about what we done since the beginning. Now we have more than 3,000 subscribers LinkedIn and Instagram, 5 testing meetups, and 3 create formal events, and 19 create English speaking club, and 8 Korean panels, 7 offline master classes, and 2 offline master classes. And of course, we are open to new cooperations. So, what's happened today? I talk about our flow meetup, and first we'll have 2 talks. The first speaker, Slavica. And the second speaker, Sergey. After that, we will have a group photo and maybe a small talk. After that, we'll have a pizza break, finally a group photo for casual network, and later, of course, the after party. And few things before we start, we are recording the talks, and you can watch if you want, and you can ask questions after each talk. So let's begin. Have a great time, everyone. And I please come to the stage. Welcome, Sebastian.
Is it okay to put the glass here? It will not, just to be aware, not. I need this. Hello, welcome. I'm really happy to see so many people today. I didn't expect due to the weather. And this is actually the first time that I'm presenting out of my company. I didn't have that chance before. So I'm a little bit nervous, and that's okay. So I will read you my cookie fortune for the beginning. So it says like this: networking efforts will soon lead you to a rewarding career opportunity. Huh? So let's go on something serious. How often really we think about who is accessing our system? Today, I will talk about how vital and important is authentication testing and how I choose this topic because depending from my QA perspective and also from my experience at Endava and as a community member of security community team, I realize we are not aware what's happening with authentication at all. It's not even a part of our everyday testing. And they raise a question how this really important because we need to check every time who is accessing our system. Authentication is something that we do not focus enough, and the time is to change this. And please, after the presentation, I'm expecting that you share your thoughts, what goes well or it didn't. I'm open for every idea. So we will first talk about what broken authentication is, what kind of attacks and techniques exists, how we can prevent them. The second part is session and cookie security. We will have a quick recap and on the end, the Q&A session. For those who are curious, I have a couple of slides on the end you can research after when you download the presentation with interesting links and workshops. So, can you raise a hand if you are aware what is broken authentication? Oh. Oh, not at all. Okay, that's fine. So it's a class of security bug when one attacker can log in without knowing actually your credentials and can impersonate legitimate user. And this is really, really important because it's happening when your configuration is weak, you have authentication mechanism weak, missing, or poorly implemented. Results are really bad. We have stolen or misused resources. Next, what I want to mention are the common attacks. There are three types of attacks which are the most common. First one is a brute force attack, when malicious users are trying every possible password on one account until they actually do not succeed and then enter the system. The last one, password spray, would be opposite. When they take all the accounts, for example, from one company and try on those accounts one like really common password. And how this they can do? Just easy, they can go on LinkedIn, check from one company, people working here, and everybody are making their emails often like first name dot last name at company.com. And the in the middle one, the second, is credential stuffing attack. This is really serious because if we are using the same password everywhere, then we have a problem. If that password is stolen on one place, maybe attacker can reuse it and enter all your accounts in just one time. So what are the real world risks? They are account hijacking, identity theft, and full system can be compromised if attacker stole admin user. And now is the warning. So attack may affect any web application, anything that have mechanism of access and control. And majority is thinking, maybe not in IT sector, but in other companies, this is happening to somebody else. But when we see this example, you see well-known companies which has these attacks and their consequences, like Instagram, GitHub, Starbucks, Zoom, and Twitter. So strong authentication is essential for everyone. And to sum it up, the potential losses are huge. We can lose a customer trust, business, we can lose a reputation, and also financial losses are huge. And next part is like we are saying, it's okay password, I'm insecure too. So we see this password can be like guess instantly. And what we can do about this? We can see in this table how quick malicious actor can guess our password instantly in a couple of hours, days, but it might happen never if we use really good passwords. And what else I wanted to say on this part of the topic? Are we aware that on many platforms, passwords are stored in plain text? And you can check that really easily just by clicking on I forgot my password. And if password is coming in the text form, exact as you type it, that means that's how they are storing your password. You are expecting a reset link, not the plain text. And only what is encrypted here is their common sense. So this is one way how we can prevent these exploits before they happen. So we have hashed password, and we can imagine two users having the same password. If attacker stole those hash, they can see there is a couple of passwords the same and realize that are the weakest one. And if we add on each password before storing a little bit of salt, so simple data as a string, a random string, and then hash the password, every password will be look the same. Why this is important? Because we have every password unique, even hashed. So the advice is store hash and salt together because that's not a secret. People are aware of that, but it's helping you that have unique passwords. And multi-factor authentication. This is not anything new, everybody are aware of this, but there is something that we knew as a password, something that we have as a phone for a token, and something that we are, for example, free fingerprint. How can we test MFA? We first go and test like log in with valid credentials, check the token, add the token, and you are expecting you are on the home page. But we should check how can we actually skip the token. So try one more time by clicking directly on the home page or check the response. There is a possibility in response is token and you can just copy and paste it and enter system without MFA. The next chapter is about session management. So how session management works. Every time somebody log in, they use password and username. In that moment, server creates a session for that person and gives back a session ID. Every time when you click on a page, on some new page, session is checked by a server to verify it's really new. So what are the threats of the session ID? So if it's easy to guess, so it's predictable session ID opens the door for hijacking. Through insecure cookies and URLs, session ID might leak. So how we are imagining this? When you are logging in, you are getting like a bracelet for some event or concert. Your session ID is your bracelet which letting you freely walk around the concert festival. But if this bracelet is easy to copy, never expires, it's a big security risk because somebody else can copy it and enter the event. These examples are obvious. On the first you see a cookie which on the first look randomly is not easy to guess, but if you resend the same request again, it appears, it's really predictable. And the second example is URL that includes session ID, and this is also another serious security risk. So what we should think about now. Imagine somebody gives you a key card for the hotel and you are where you can enter your room, use your stuff. And Stealing session ID means that somebody else also has the same key and can enter your room anytime. So this is a session fixation, the type of an attack, where what you can do to stop this. So you should always have sessions which are expiring. Every time when person log in, change the session ID. Every time when person log out, delete the session ID on your server. So no users can come back without logging in again. Simple test would be log in, log out, click a back button on your browser, and if you are again on a home page, your test failed. And if you need to log in again, this is good. Your session is safe. Um, so what we can do to prevent and make safe our system? We can use some open source authentication frameworks. On this slide, you see a lot of them. There are many. But depending of the language platform or what does it well, you can choose some that fits the best for you. For example, first one, OAuth, it's used from Google and Facebook to log in, and everybody are using that really often. The next one is testing correctness. So when we are testing correctness, checking if login behaves exactly as it should, and in the both manner, if everything goes good and if some things go bad. We have two types of attacks in this sense. Brute force password attack, when attacker actually can use valid username and 200 passwords or more, and system is not locking, and this is a problem. If they can try forever, on the end they will enter. And we need to rate limit and lock out. Also, the second example is similar. It's a brute force OTP attack. On the same way, if OTP can be sent many times and never expires, and you can do this as long as you need, they will enter on the end. Also, there is one example from real life. They can just make you financial losses, because every time when you send OTP, some companies do that with a phone, sending you SMS. And they can just click many times and make you pay for that a lot. So this is a serious problem, because especially if some apps claims they are using MFA, but they are not enforcing it properly. And to conclude, check whether the login for is protected against brute force attacks. Try login with the valid credentials, try 200 or more password, and observe. If the login attempt is limited, is lockout, or the delay is triggered, if MFA is triggered, if anything of this is not happening, we have a serious issue on our system. Yeah, I'm expecting to see a video. Okay, this is really good for a start if you're interested in security. There is a Juicy Shop platform for learning security testing. Depending on the task, they are rated with the stars. This is a simple task with the 2 stars. And we have admin email inside of the comments of the groceries. We can copy paste it and then try many passwords to see if we can enter the system. How we are doing this? By using the burp suite, capturing only the local traffic, and then we enter only the common passwords. When attacks start, we are observing what's happening in responses. When actually response will be successful, what response we are expecting. When we see 200, we get the password and we can enter system as admin. So in this step, they are choosing what they will burp. They are burping only from response a password and uploading the common passwords. And after this, in a couple of seconds, attack will be successful. So you will not be able to do this fast, but this is how you're learning. Maybe you will need on the first 45 minutes, but after sometimes people need 2 minutes to do this. After testing correctness, next step, rotate and invalidate your session IDs. This I mentioned already, so invalidating session IDs is important when person log out, rotating session ID every time when somebody log in, because if anybody already captured a session ID, they can reuse it to walk through the system. So I will skip this because I don't have a lot of time. This is more important. You can find your session ID in this part. Inspect just the page, go on the on application tab and choose cookies. There you have session ID and you can observe what's happening with your session. So what would be like an easy test to test this? You can go log in, capture session ID, log out, and try with the same request and that session ID to log in again, just with the postman. You are expecting response 403, that's forbidden because it's old session, but if you succeed and get 200, your test failed. And for the end, just review your configuration. So single-sign solutions can be misconfigured and check if everything works as expected. And good practices, expire your sessions after 15 to 30 minutes of inactivity, and also bind your session IDs. If anything suspicious happening, like somebody logging from the weird location or from the weird devices, we tried this like 5 of us from the team tried to log in on the same account at the same time. And it's locked because of that was suspicious. Monitor this because this can be brute force attack. And 2 good advices you can easily remember. When you are getting, after the entering the concert, new VIP bracelet, nobody can copy it and cannot use it without buying a new one. And the second example is when you leave a hotel, every hotel actually deactivate your key card. So you cannot enter your room without checking in again. And conclusion is, session IDs have to be long, random, hard to guess. Cookies secured, expire your sessions, regenerate session IDs, and log out properly. Clear your session on the server. Problem was hackers can impersonate users, resource can be stolen or misused, full account can be compromised. Root cause was a missing weak authentication mechanism, predictable tokens, and plain text storage, poor session management, and no expiration. How can we defend with strong passwords, MFA, secure our sessions, rotate and expire session IDs, and passwords should be stored, hashed, and salted. Always rotate, expire session, and protect credentials. Thank you for your listening. I'm open for your questions.
Swalita, thank you for very interesting information.
That's what I'm using, but nothing else special. Like just investigating a page, checking what's happening with the cookies, what's happening with the session IDs, monitoring things. and like thinking what will happen if I try this too many times. If it just these examples, like if the system lock out, is there some message, is anything happening, like to have information that we are insecure. I think they are really curious anyhow, and they learn because they are interested in a topic. From my experience, everybody from the security team are actually hackers. So they are doing that in a good manner or a bad, it can be possible, but they will find a way to learn anyhow. And if we are speaking about AI, if they are fast, more fast, faster, affect our system. I, I think that we should raise awareness to any company, because when I told for a couple of neighbors that I'm presenting about this, they all have a story about what happened in their companies, and they are not IT companies, they are like lawyer offices when everything is stolen, and when they send a money on the wrong account because there was a man in the middle attack, they have ransomwares. So we should like raise this, because there is many these things on internet than on the street. I think so. Welcome.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thanks, Alex, for an amazing presentation. I'm George Radovic, co-founder of Udify. Yeah, you can never be too cautious when it comes to security. And could you share with us how often actually do you manage to find a bug? Okay, so discrepancy between expected and actual result in your phase of testing. That everything escaped. So on your table, how often do you actually find a bug? So, and another question is, how often do you find missed requirement, or you prevent a bug, even in the requirements phase, definition of requirements. So how do you look at this, and what's your experience in that sense?
I think I choose the topic somehow because of this reason. Nobody actually, ordinary testers like manual automation testers, asking to do this testing. What I think it's totally wrong. We should be aware of this, and there are so many types of attacks. We should implement this from the beginning when somebody actually starting the position, what we are giving to him. Test the login, test the logout, and nobody is telling to them we have serious things to test here. Sometimes when we are on the testing environment, there are many bugs like that. But in one step, when we are going on part when we are pre-production, then majority from the security team fix everything and check everything. And on the production part, we are not testing that much. But sometimes if we are able, in some circumstances, I try. But I'm not actually expecting bug there. If we are having a bug on the production, then we didn't do a good job. Yeah. Yeah. But do you know that some people are not happy to invest in that at all? They're not thinking, they're not enough relying on information that we are giving, providing, and they don't want to spend so much money on those types of testing. So it's their fault.
or they think they should be getting it in broader sense? They're not entitled to know about the clients. They don't.
That's what we are doing also. We are selling our products, so we have to tell them, let's think about security. That's our job. Thank you. There is?
Doing slides and thank you for the presentation. I have a question like how right now people tend to use a lot of personal accounts and don't forget the password and use security password. What do you speak about security password application like password from a web and some plugins can get information over if you have information about this?
I believe that those solutions are good in a way, but I think last year or year before this, we were speaking on one testing week about big exploit. It was like a big breach of one well-known company. So when they realize, they inform the users about this, but there is a little time. I think the best thing is to have some algorithm, and I'm using a notebook, but to not understand that's my password. I'm keeping it because I'm writing a lot. I write it somewhere in the middle to not understand if somebody actually find my notebook, to not understand that's the password. So it's good because I use any tool that can help, but be aware it can happen that even them are having attack any kind of type and your passwords can be stolen.
This is the last question. As a thank you for the presentation, I have like addition to the previous question. I think now as users have like integration with, for example, Google or other services that allow us to get inside other services through Google accounts. Does this like weaken the security situation, or it actually strengthens?
I believe to Google personally, because every time when anybody try or myself to log in on my account, I get a message because it's a weird device. For the location also, I saw a message. Every time when I try to log in from anywhere, they are informing me something suspicious is happening. And the Google is a well-known rich company, and I believe they are enforcing everything they can to be like the best they can be. So Google is okay, I think. That's my personal opinion. Maybe we can do some research for next time if something like this happened actually to them. But the worst thing, one of my neighbor told me that she has on every account the same password. So everyday people are not thinking much about that. So maybe users can be the worst thing what they choose. Not actually the company, maybe users are choosing really big passwords. Thank you.
As the best question, just to sum it up, I guess the first question was about favorite tool you use. The second one about AI threats, quite up-to-date question, I would say. And then how often you find bugs, if I'm mistaken, and sort of the questions about personal accounts and integration risks.
I like the most the second question.
The second one, okay. Great. Applause.
Applause.
I would like to thank you for the great talk today. It was very important, very interesting. Thank you much. And I have a very small gift for you.
Oh, present. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for welcome. And very welcome. Thank you for our great vision. The next speaker is Sergey. Yeah, please come to the stage. Sergey will talk about multitasking debugging. And welcome, Sergey.
Yeah, just want to do something. Yes. All right. Hello everyone, thank you for being here. It's so nice to see you all. My name is Dave, as mentioned, and today I'd like to talk to you about how each and every single one of you can actually positively affect the way our work leads. First things first, I've worked as a quality assurance engineer for more than 6 years now. I worked in different companies, different teams, doing both B2B, B2C products, products of web and on desktop, products for restaurant clients, and so on and so forth. So, I have pretty huge experience working with teams within different processes. And before we continue, the first question I want to ask everyone of you is what is the quality assurance engineers? Or should I say what make us stand out from different members of teams or different types? Any ideas? That's the most important one. Sure. But actually there is no good or bad answer, so you could say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Exploration.
That's also one of the facility exploration, right? And speaking about exploration, this probably is close to something I want to talk about because if every single one of us will take a look at science, we will quickly find out that there's like the millions of different bullet points about how we should, check the features, test environments, stuff like this. But we rarely remember about the process. Because if you think about it, the quality assurance also takes really seriously the way how we look to the process, how we explore processes, greenhouse. And this brings some very good uh, almost like too much use nowadays that private development activities, there should be private activity. But if you really think about it, we, as search engineers, are among the very few people who actually participate in practically every single stage of the software development life. A lot of analysts practically start working on the projects the moment they start testing the initiative, right? Some of the developers forget about the feature the moment they pass it on to us. But we, being the project engineers, are discussing the issues. We discuss developers the way how they can implement it, and we test it. Right? And of course, some of us occasionally even release some of the product. So we practically participate in everything and give us some very important opportunity to research. And this is the very first principle I want you all to remember right now is you should not ever do research like you want to plan. For example, if you participate in every single stage of the process, why not to think, is everything really going on fine within our team? And this leads us to the next question. What did the do with Spring? Like, okay, we all work probably with Spring or some very similar way of process organization, and how everyone you define personally what makes your previous group work fine.
Confidence.
Confidence is very important, that's for sure. Any other ideas?
Investigating before.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, I guess each and every single one of us has a vision of what this looks like. The moment when we go from one stage to another stage, that everything works smoothly, there's no problems in our project, stuff like this. Realistically, though, if not everything, but with a lot of them has some problems. It's either some deadline issues, maybe some work tasks, workload, stuff like this. And the way how we might identify it is basically the same way how we might identify that something is wrong with our people. Theoretically, we see that some person might be looking good, might act good, but there's just some minor details that tell us, hey, wait a minute, about it, a lot of team already having the measures and requests, for example, trying to change their productivity, like for their velocity, how many programs they're making per day instead of times, trying to select their database or bug operate. They should not look like this. I think project mission conditions are very important. Actually, a lot of more things you probably should estimate in your companies. For example, what is your employees issue, what is your workload, basically how many tasks you work at the same time, or of course there are a lot of time related things like lead time or cycle time. Basically, how much time do you spend from discussing initiative and all the way to release of this initiative. But this is usually where I'm try anything with this big team, but we in politicians engineer people who challenge our fiction on a daily basis should not also be afraid to challenge uh, and our identity process. Like we already if there's anybody, test anybody, everything. So why don't you just process well? And then let's just say you take a closer look to the some stages of your process, right? You identify some of the weak spots, for example, you notice some issues with time, you notice some issues with your workload. What do you do next? You see some problems within your team, like problems in the process. What do you try to do next?
Self-jam.
That's usually how it goes, yeah. But in other areas, try to yes, yes, that's also very close. Basically, trying to come up with steps. And actually, there's a lot to do with something. Like, if you have some issues on some particular stage for that period of your life, you might want to implement some new techniques. Like, you already start with literature, you find out about basic the story, basically, conversation. So you try to implement some new ideas, right? Or you might think that, wait a minute, our whole process is a mess. So let's try to switch for some different methodologies. For example, go to the assessment that you develop, which is very corporate. Or you might have a good process, but you always get problems to the deadline. So you might want to give the work to the years. For example, there's a very popular, very useful 30-60 rule. It's mostly like for developers, and basically means that every developer you should not spend more than 30 minutes investigating something, no more than 15 minutes trying to do something to this task, no more than 4 hours discussing this task with anybody else. Because the developers spend more than 5 hours working on one task and there is close to no progress, you probably a good idea to switch this back to another developer or maybe verifying if you mess up certain criteria, or maybe you should probably do it the way you might not be ready to work it right now. Or maybe you can find on this side, but you are not really understand pretty confident that everything was done as you intended to, so you might want to implement some of the features for now or the features great. Or everything might look perfectly, but you know, it's just some stress when you go through work, right? You really be afraid to join every meetings, or you might be a little stressed when you talk with your colleagues, so you might have some issues with your team, so you might want to do conflict management, like review, which basically means that you should try to de-escalate, direct, and personalize this issue conversation with your team as well. So people don't just want to do our work and whatever, at least type of problem. But I know I think of that. This slide, there's a lot of different information here, and I don't want you to remember all of it because basically you can find everything that I just mentioned in Google or talk with you always for 5 minutes, and you can find so much more actually. There's less even different technologies, techniques, instruments, tools that you eventually so I know that you can find basically useful on a daily basis, but I want you to remember from this talk that you should not be afraid to improvise. There is no, unfortunately, silver bullet, no things that can fix every situation within your team, right? And some solutions that work for some people might not really work for others. But if you try to come up with something every single time, not to improvise, you will definitely find a way to fix any issue. And also, when you try to fix something, there will be challenges. People will say, like, why should we bother doing anything? Like, we've been working like this for years now, so why not continue working like we always do? And share very critical point because, well, legislation will, right? But realistically, if you come up with the way how you can communicate to people what you're trying to do, they probably will be more than willing to go work. And in the very core of everything you're trying to do, not necessarily related to the process of living, but like anything in life, you probably should want to use three step rule. First of all, you should set a clear goal. Goal, singular. Don't try to fix all the work problems at once. You will probably just lose attention and you be distracted on many different problems. So try to focus one thing at a time, right? Then you probably should implement some strict deadlines because you don't really understand where they should probably come up with some results, they might also lose some attention to this feature. Like, for example, should you really continue doing government practice or should we switch to another instrument by now because we don't really understand how everything is going on? And this is also the very reason why you probably should implement measurable metrics. You should understand if everything they're doing actually working. Like, already discussed a lot of stuff, so it's time to try to make everything you suggest. And the way how you should study is basically you should have this goal, this deadline, this metrics. You should use these various metrics and basically go to your team saying, hey, take a look, we have this different things. Like, yeah, we deliver stuff to the board, why not if every single time you release something, there's like trillions of different ERs coming from the code. But with that being said, you should not only start the discussion with the whole thing at once. Like, yeah, we have arrangements, some things, but you come up with such this meetings to the whole team. I think once again might be a little bit more resistant because they might think that, well, they should probably act now, or maybe there's some part of the team that might be less willing and they might argue and so it will lose the attention to it. So we probably should start with the first discussion, part one. When you discuss stuff like this, you always, in a more private manner, players usually tend to be more open and they might be more willing to go on board with it. But it doesn't mean that you should go behind and go back. This is a very important moment here. Because if you, try to undermine anyone's authorities, you might recognize. Basically, if present issue, if any process exists, it exists for a reason. Usually because somebody somebody come up with this process and say, all right, we want like this now. And from my experience, we used to have some forward procedure. We basically restart our messages and it took us like a couple of days to get this procedure. And we realized that this procedure was set by manager, our manager. And initially, also, we might also use this manager, but the problem is that in this way, we risk too much to undermine our own manager's abilities and respect authority. And we don't want to do this. We probably should speak with every single one member of the team. There might be some minor details that other people but they know. And that basically is a fun with digits. When we found some digits, we told it to the developers. We're not saying stuff like, you know what, you have no idea how to work and propose to go fix it up. We don't try to be ends from that. We just bring them stuff that, hey, you know, try to work on this, we should work with that. Same thing goes with the process. And of course, last but not the least, you should do a discussion. It doesn't mean that you should take all responsibility for the process. Yes, no, but again, there's no idea in the team, everyone working in the same machines, so responsibility should be distributed equally to the members. But if we, as a quality assurance engineers, are more or less in a good position where we can see some problems, we can measure these problems with the metrics, we might provide a solution. We also should not be afraid to take some responsibility and to offer these solutions, right? There might be some issues related to when we're going to do this because we have a lot of discussions regarding how daily features, daily work. We probably should do some techniques like we should set for example, in our team, we occasionally do stuff where each person can just do it to talk about everything because when we leave that the person to go, they usually try to be more focused on what exactly they're trying to say. And there's no emotional background, there's simply no context or you should implement other closing issue. So there's always because of course there might be some people who might be go against your decisions, your solutions, but if huge part of the team be on board with your ideas, they might give it a try. Now, basically, everything you just say can be linked to one single principle, should not be afraid to communicate with people. Once again, if you find some problems with doing processes, if you suffer from it, you can safely bet that your team members probably see these problems too, and they also don't like it. Now, as I just mentioned, there is no silver bullet, unfortunately. Like, some solutions might work for some, and they might not work for them. You can spend 10 minutes in Google, discuss with IDE or with your team members. You will find many more solutions to your problems. But if you just go with these four principles, if you are not afraid to look into everything, you're not afraid to challenge everything, you're not afraid to improvise solutions to your problems, if you're not afraid to communicate the solutions to the team, you will succeed. You might not succeed on the very first time. More and more you go on to these four principles, use these four principles and using go out to the way how you process within your team. The way to define work in your team become more stable, more efficient, and the thing I want you to get from this presentation is that next Monday, when we return to our work, we will return to our teams, please keep these four principles in mind. Take a closer look at your processes within your teams and just try to think, is everything really going on well? And if not, don't be afraid to improvise. Don't be afraid to communicate this stuff to your team members. They will very quickly see how you do. And it doesn't matter whether your team lead is a huge experience or you're just a junior engineer who just have to join the project. You, as a quality assurance engineer, have, as I mentioned before, very privileged position of working on this project. You look and serve, challenge you provide, you communicate, and then you will make your work, your results, so much better, simpler, and efficient. So, good luck all. Thank you for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Um, a big thank you to Sergey for very important and interesting talk. And now let's have time for answering questions.
Please speak loudly into the microphone.
Yeah, Sergey, thank you for your presentation. It was very insightful. I have the question that basically, how do you think does like any, let's say, tester who just do like technical part of job, just basically move the tasks on Jira board, does any of the testers should go into direction of the QA of being this like communicative person? Because basically you're also working with, let's say, bugs in the processes. You need to sell your idea sometimes to management, to your like colleagues, and it's not like not everyone is okay with doing that. So the question is there a way, if you're this kind of person, is there a way to grow in the QA without actually being QA? Is there any like other way?
Yeah, I see. That's actually a very good question because there's a phrase that every single member of any team can be basically divided into technical people and people. People who are more, like to work with tools and instruments and features, and people who are more like talkers about anything. And you should not necessarily try to be both. You should people because let's be real, people who are more introverted, don't like to talk with people, it might be just pure suffering for him or for her to try to communicate his ideas to team members. But that means that being part of the team doesn't necessarily mean that you should try, to do everything that you mentioned on a daily basis, right? Uh, you being, let's say, just tester who uh, work with some instruments, like do some daily testing, you still work at different stages within your team. Like you still lock within some sort of process. And if you just see, if you just look into this and you see some problems, you not necessarily have to drive all. You can take a sit with the new head, so you might just communicate to your colleagues, like one-to-one discussion, and let this colleague do the talking, because there's always some people on the team who are more willing to do some changes, so you will not necessarily have to take on responsibility right now, you can just communicate to the other person. And the thing I want you to remember that these four principles are very important, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should try to follow all of them, because once again, for example, the application principle might be very hard for some people. It's okay. Some people might try to very hard to improvise a different solution, and it's also okay. The idea here is that you should understand that these four principles are like the basic building block. Each of these principles will help you and will make you work better. So you should not be afraid to, just take some of this that you find more in touch with your nature, and just to try to, give it to your colleagues. For example, find the person who may can work with you, like you also see the problem, and you get this problem, so say, hey, how about we discuss this stuff? And this person might actually want to discuss this stuff. So just find something that you will be more effective with.
Thanks.
Uh,
One, two. Thank you for your presentation. What was the most difficult, challengeable change you have accepted in QA processes in your career? What was the most difficult? Yeah.
necessarily was part of the QA, but it was rather a part of the whole process, and it was 1 week sprint. We had a huge problem planning within our team, and it took a lot of time. We always missed the destinations, we failed deadlines, and then we come up with a bold idea. It might not help everybody, but we switched from 2 week sprints to just 1 week sprint. The idea here was that we forcefully limit us for the time that we actually have to do our job. We will have to try to talk that. Like we will have to be better defined. We will have to communicate better with each other. We will have to try to, define our work in a smaller tasks, but in a more efficient way. Like we have to think how we can release stuff to the users, but in a smaller and more efficient way. And it actually helped us a lot. It's surprisingly was one of the best things we did in our team, because it took us a lot about the way how we should, refine our MVPs, how we should communicate in each other, how we should try to estimate our work. Probably was the bold one. We not necessarily was on board with it initially, but we give it a try. We set deadline for 2 months. We have some definitions done, basically just much procedure report, report, sorry, where we at the end of each week we just sit and say, okay, did our new methodology help us this stuff, this stuff, this stuff? And initially it was a huge struggle, but the more we did it, the more we understood that hey, we actually become better as professionals. Yeah, it really helped.
Hi, so my question is, what metrics do you use to assess whether a process improvement actually worked or not?
That's a great question, because there are so many metrics. And in my experience, I found time with like the metrics to be the best at the initial stages of any change. Like no matter what your team is doing, if you measure stuff like what is the time to release, like when you finish stuff, how much time does it take to prepare a release, or how much time does single developer actually work on the same task, on the one task, or how much time did the QA engineer test this task compared to what you estimated at the beginning of the sprint, is usually bring the best insight, because you can understand, okay, we failed our estimation, why? Or okay, we succeeded with our estimation, but we did it a little bit faster, maybe, and stuff like this is usually a very good basic building block for any future change.
Thank you. You already had an opportunity. Nobody else wants to ask questions. No. Okay.
Thank you very much.
still will be here for a coffee break, so if any of you have questions, you might want to discuss after this, I'll be open for discussion.
Thank you very much for your presentation. But you described this like ideal picture with work processes. But what if it doesn't work? Any of that? Like your team don't hear you, your developers ignore you. You waiting for bug fixes like 3 days, at least blocker boxes. What would you do in that happened?
That's a very good question.
Like how to back burn into your eyes? Yes.
I do somebody say that you should go to your father over during the presentation. Yeah, you might use violence in a very few, but realistically, yeah, we don't want to have anybody that wants to become enemies with anybody. Usually, I guess it's a very good question because this is usually what happens, right? Because nobody wants to change skills, nobody wants to change the way how we work for like years now. So usually it helps when you start with the smaller things. Like you might have a huge problem with bloggers and stuff like this. Usually you should try to find or identify the smallest thing when and try to change. And if you just start this process, any changes or communication at least, like you, I think we have this slide. Yep. If you set as the minimum goal possible, like for example, for example, think that our perspective discussions are not really effective, so let's start to change the way how we organize our perspective. And you go all of these, like you propose some metrics, and probably in this case, the last one will be the most important one, so not very to take away, and you might try to organize these numbers yourself. It will be a good start, right? Because from my experience, it's surprisingly work like, after line. The moment you start, you will quickly see that the further down the line you go, the easier to implement some changes and better that machine actually become the very end. So it might take a lot of time. I was in a different teams and it wasn't the changes and it took a while to, come in an agreement and occasionally I have to admit I had to go to the just and ask, hey, can you please join the meeting just for a moment so we can show how to develop the group? Use different words that they did. So yeah, you should not probably try to provide the most you can. Like, you should not be afraid, especially right now with the stuff. What your advice for people or Google something. So yeah, basically, don't be afraid to push people.
I'm not afraid. Thank you very much.
And the last question? No one? Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah, the first one you talked about processes. Okay, did you have opportunity to push? It's always pushing, but it is to advocate for some let's say non-functional software characteristic like performance, and it wasn't in the scope, but you really you are all over the place, and it will really bring value to end users. Did you have opportunity to advocate for those kind of non NFRs, being it software accessibility, for example, for people with disabilities or performance or something like that? That's the first question. And how did that go? And the second one is, do you remember a change that you really believed in, like you were either hyped about it or something, and it just wasn't accepted, it was pushed back by the team, and did you learn from it, and what?
Ooh, that's a very detailed question. Especially the first one, is very easy to answer. Yes, actually, we implemented a bunch of such changes was performance testing, and we put down the QA side because initially our product worked very well. We noticed that the SaaS business, like the students were more people join our product started more stably, and I actually tried to use this performance test for use of this product, but the moment we started with yes, like Could push it a bit to like take a look at it. People already start ending up on this sheet, so do something about that. So performance testing. Here's the need. This is how it works. It's was bad idea, so let's not use it. And initially the idea was to use it first it was like probably should start doing something, we don't know why. This is I think I know what we should do. So you take the propose this idea, you show code for it, the more you do it, the more you enjoy this idea, and this was the way how we basically managed the concept within our team, and right now it's like a standing speaker. The second question is also a good one. There was an idea when we tried to push more information within our team for years, and we managed to get some subscription, we managed to make our company drive up user subscription, stuff like this. We did a lot of courses, but we basically were, and the developers were on board, you know, how to code this experience that the years that we were willing to have a practice we were ready, management nowhere, because now they have enough time. And I did say that one of the things was ready there, people probably don't know, because when we find out that, okay, you all want to do this stuff, but we don't have this time enough right now, so next week, then again, have some time, and for like a year and something that we still don't know. It's just like some information, and those will not be but thank you. It was a good question. A lot of the questions actually. It's my pleasure to discuss some of this. We will pass so thank you all very much.
Do you need some notes on the questions? The first one was quite interesting. Well, how should people deal with being kind of challenging QA engineer if they're into technical side more? The second one, what was the most challenging part you have ever implemented? Question about metrics, and the very vivid question. The fourth one was what to do when everyone ignores you. And the last comprehensive topic, two questions, a change you really believed in and how to help. I don't actually remember. The first one, sorry.
Ooh, that's a really hard one. A lot of questions. I guess the most important for me question, the one that resonated my heart most was the question about the from this gentleman. It is I really wanted to implement, but it unfortunately failed. So I guess this was my favorite question. Thank you.
Let me proceed to speak today, and I'll have a small. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone. And now our meetup is almost over, but not yet. I want to thank you for everyone, and I want to thank you our partner and to the great SDT Hub. It's our very wonderful partner. And today, for giving us a nice place and the pizza after watching. We really enjoy working with City Hub. Thank you very much. Also, we would like to see our partner Belgrade. Belgrade is online school, specializing in the automation training for beginning to confident professional. Science 2020 is there help with both aspiring and experienced engineers. Depends the skills with practical project-based course in Java, Python, JavaScript, and even ChatGPT integration. And now with course, are available in Russian language. Thanks so much. So also a big thank you for our partner, Elena Slomonova. It's our graphical and UX design, and she created amazing sticker park for the meetup. Thank you so much, and we're glad to work with you together. And also thank you for our photographer today, Alexey Hype and Alina. Thanks so much. I think you do great work. I also like to say thank you for the short for the company Swap. It's very short, so we love them. Swap made short for our team, and really enjoyed this partnership. And we can see them they around. I also want to say something in co-partnership for Quality Conference 2025 will be 22 June. Serbian QA Hub is proud to be an partner of Quality Conference 2025 to combine events for QA and test automation happening June 26. Expect real-world cases, AI insights, and various tools tips. Thank you. And we are looking for a new partner, and we are looking for new partners every time. So, welcome donation, and you can choose if it's small. Please don't forget about donation. It's very important for us, and we will be very grateful. Thanks so much. Now it's time to say thank you for our team, Serbian Hub, and I will come to stage our team, Serbian Hub. Without them, this meetup, I think, wouldn't happen. And thank you so much. It's very, very cool. Now we'll have a photo, and after that we'll have a great time. And please come everyone to stage for a group photo.
Yeah, we should.
Um, 1 minute, and after we will have a break time, and after break time we will have networking, like the control and members, and to Belgrade, and please don't forget about the nation. Thanks so much. Please, everyone, come to the stage for group photo.
Say bye.
Знаю,